The station was quiet, almost too quiet for a place meant to send travelers to distant planets. Neon lights flickered over the metal floor, casting long shadows that danced across the empty corridors. Only a few figures moved, their steps echoing, as they hurried toward the last shuttle of the night. It was the final transport, leaving in just 10 minutes, and everyone knew missing it meant waiting hours for the next one. Among the passengers waiting was a group of 3 aliens. Their skin shimmered faintly in the neon glow, and their eyes glowed a pale yellow. They whispered to each other nervously, glancing toward the shuttle bay. The stories about her were already making the rounds. Travelers who had passed through. This station spoke in hushed tones of a female alien who had attacked passengers without warning. She was fast, strong, and completely unpredictable. Most said she bit her victims before vanishing into the shadows. The shuttle doors slid open. With a hiss, steam and a faint scent of machine oil poured into the bay. One by one, the 3 aliens stepped inside, their movements cautious. None of them noticed her at first. She was already inside, her tall frame hunched slightly as she prowled near the back of the shuttle. Her skin was dark and glossy, like polished obsidian, and her eyes glimmered with sharp intelligence and something dangerous. The first alien stepped too close. A moment later, a sharp snap and a cry filled the shuttle. Panic rippled through the remaining passengers as the woman had bitten him on the arm. The bite was quick but powerful, leaving a deep mark. He fell to the floor, clutching his arm, groaning, in pain. The second alien tried to pull back, but it was too late. She moved with a speed that seemed unnatural, snapping her jaws at his shoulder. Another bite, and the passenger screamed, staggering backward. The few who remained frozen in place, their fear rooted in instinct. The third alien hesitated, but fear overpowered caution. He lunged for the exit, only to have her intercept him mid-step. Her hands were strong, her grip firm, and she bit down, before he could even react. His cries were loud, and the shuttle filled with the sound of panic. And then she looked at the last passenger, a human. The air seemed to thicken as she advanced. Unlike the others, he didn't flinch. His stance was calm, steady, almost relaxed. Where fear had frozen the others, he stood his ground, his eyes meeting hers without a hint of doubt. Passengers whispered to each other, eyes wide with disbelief. No human had ever faced her like this. They expected her to attack, to strike with the same speed and force she had used on the others. But he simply held out his hand. The shuttle seemed to hold its breath. Even the lights flickered as if uncertain. What would happen next? She circled him slowly, her head tilting, studying him. Her sharp teeth glimmered in the neon, but she paused. The human didn't move. He didn't flinch. He didn't pull away. "Why? Isn't he afraid?" one of the passengers whispered. I don't know," another answered. "Humans don't do that. They usually scream or run." The woman's tail flicked behind her. Her instincts screamed to strike, to dominate, to bite. Yet something about him, his calm, his unwavering gaze, stopped her. She had never encountered a human who didn't tremble. Never one who faced her as an equal rather than prey. She leaned closer, sniffing him, testing him. The shuttle was silent except for the distant hum of the engines. The other passengers watched, frozen. Some held their arms over their faces, afraid of what might come next. The human's hand remained steady. His eyes softened slightly, not in fear, but in understanding. It was a gesture that said, "I know what you are. I know why you act this way. But I am not afraid." For the first time, she hesitated. Her teeth retracted slightly, and her posture shifted. She had expected panic, struggle, maybe a scream. Instead, she found calm. It was strange, almost disorienting. A subtle noise came from the shuttle's engines, a warning light flashing, but she barely noticed. All her attention was on him. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, she reached toward his hand. The passengers gasped. Some instinctively moved back, but the human stayed still. His hand was open, steady, an offering of peace rather than a challenge. When her fingers brushed against his palm, nothing violent happened. Instead, a strange tension seemed to lift. She froze, confused by the sensation. The human's calmness seemed to spread, a quiet force that made her pause completely. For a long moment, neither moved. Time felt slower, stretched thin. Then slowly, she withdrew her hand, just slightly, and stared at him. Her eyes were wide, trying to understand this human who didn't act like any prey she had ever known. The shuttle lights hummed softly, casting shadows on her face, making her look less dangerous, almost thoughtful. The human lowered his hand, but kept his calm stance. No fear, no aggression, just quiet observation. The other passengers began to relax slightly, but they still watched in tense silence. Something extraordinary was happening. The predator, the one who had bitten 3 others without warning, was not attacking him. Not yet. Not at all. And for the first time, the woman considered something she had never thought of before. Maybe humans were not weak. Maybe humans were different. The shuttle's engines roared to life. The doors sealed. Outside, the neon lights of the station faded into darkness. Inside, the human and the alien locked eyes. An unspoken understanding passing between them. She had bitten the last 3 passengers. He didn't flinch. He simply held out his hand. The journey had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The shuttle rocked gently as it lifted from the station, moving into the dark stretch of space between planets. The hum of the engines filled the cabin, but tension still clung to the air. Passengers who had survived the bites of the female alien sat in silence, their eyes fixed on the human who had faced her without fear. The alien herself stayed a few steps away, her dark, glossy skin catching the faint light. Her yellow eyes tracked his every move, cautious, curious, and slightly confused. She had expected resistance, panic, maybe even a scream, but he had offered peace. His hand, steady and calm, had defied every instinct she had. No one had ever made her hesitate like that. You didn't react like the others," one passenger finally whispered, breaking the tense quiet. "Why?" The human glanced at him briefly, then returned his attention to the alien. "Because fear doesn't solve anything," he said softly. His voice was calm, measured, almost like he was speaking to the alien herself. "I can't change what you are. I can't stop your instincts, but I can choose how I react." The alien tilted her head, studying him. She had never met a human who spoke with such clarity or such understanding. She moved closer, but kept her distance, testing him silently. "Humans usually scream, run, or fight," another passenger murmured, eyes wide. "And she always attacks." The human did not look away. "I understand that," he said, "and I respect her strength. But aggression doesn't always solve a problem. Sometimes it makes it worse." The alien's tail twitched behind her. The way he spoke, calm and steady, made her pause. His words were not a threat. They were not fear. They were acknowledgement. She had never encountered acknowledgement from a human before, only fear or challenge. For a moment, she simply watched him, her head tilting slightly as she tried to understand this strange creature. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, her body relaxed. The tension in her limbs eased, and the growl that had been low in her throat softened. A small beep came from the shuttle's control panel. The human glanced at it, then back at her. "See," he said, Even small dangers can be handled without panic. She blinked, the sound unfamiliar and slightly confusing. No one had ever explained her actions before. They had either screamed, fought, or ran, and she had followed instinct. But this human, he did not. The shuttle jolted suddenly, throwing some of the passengers off balance. The alien reacted instantly, but not aggressively. She reached out, catching the nearest passenger, before they fell. Her reflexes were sharp, precise, but she did not bite or strike. The human smiled faintly. "See? You can protect without harming," he said. Her eyes narrowed slightly. She didn't understand all his words, but she understood his meaning. The passengers, watching the scene, began to murmur softly. Some leaned back in relief, realizing that the alien was no longer a simple threat. "What? What is he doing?" one whispered. "He's calming her," another said, awe in their voice. "I've never seen a human do that before." The alien's instincts struggled. She wanted to assert dominance, to remind everyone that she was dangerous. But the human's calm presence pulled at something unfamiliar inside her. She found herself hesitating, a pause she had never allowed before. The shuttle rocked again, harder this time. Alarms blinked across the cabin. Something was approaching, another shuttle or possibly a rogue ship. No one could tell. Panic flared in the remaining passengers. The human raised a hand. "Stay calm," he said. His voice was steady, grounding. He moved to the front of the shuttle where the control panel blared red warnings. His fingers worked quickly, pressing buttons, checking readings, and stabilizing the engines. The alien followed, her curiosity growing. She watched him closely, noting the precision of his movements. He did not panic. He did not hesitate. Even under pressure, he remained calm. The approaching object grew closer on the shuttle's sensors. It was moving fast, heading straight for them. The passengers held their breath. The alien tensed, ready to bite, ready to attack. But then the human turned to her. "I need your help," he said simply. Her instincts screamed at her to refuse, but something deeper, something she did not fully understand, made her nod. She moved to the control panel beside him, her hands scanning the displays, learning from his actions. Together, human and alien adjusted the shuttle's trajectory, avoiding the incoming danger. The object passed by them, a near miss that sent the shuttle rocking violently. Screams filled the cabin, but the human remained calm. The alien stood beside him, ready not to attack, but to respond. She had never worked with anyone like this before. Not in hunting, not in combat, not in life. After the danger passed, the passengers slowly began to breathe normally again. Eyes that had been wide with fear were now wide with awe. The alien looked at the human, and for the first time she felt respect. You are different," she said quietly, her voice low, almost questioning. The human smiled faintly. "I understand you," he said, "and I respect who you are. That is why I can stay calm." She studied him for a long moment, her sharp teeth glinting in the light, but without menace. She realized that humans were not weak or foolish. Some, like this one, could be brave and clever. Some could even teach her something she had never known. The passengers looked on, silent, watching this unexpected alliance form. The last shuttle of the night had begun its journey through dangerous space, and for the first time the predator and her prey, or perhaps her ally, moved together, not against each other. The alien's tail twitched once, then settled. She did not bite. She did not attack. She simply stood beside the human, learning, observing, and trusting. The human reached out again, not for peace, not for fear, but for partnership. And this time, she did not pull away. For the passengers, for the alien, and for the human, the journey had changed. Fear no longer ruled the shuttle. Calm, understanding, and courage had taken its place, and the stars outside stretched endlessly, waiting for what would come next. The shuttle moved steadily through the dark emptiness of space. Outside the windows, stars stretched like silver threads across black velvet. Inside, the passengers were slowly regaining their composure. The alien, who had bitten the last three travelers, remained beside the human. She did not speak much, but her eyes followed his every movement. She was still cautious, but something inside her had changed. The human studied the control panel, checking the shuttle's systems. His hands moved confidently, pressing buttons and adjusting readings. "The engines are stable now," he said softly, more to himself than anyone else. "But we need to stay alert. This sector is unpredictable." The alien tilted her head, watching him closely. She had always relied on instincts and raw power, but this human used something different. Calm, thought, understanding. It was unlike anything she had ever experienced. Why do you stay so calm?" she asked finally, her voice low and curious. The human looked at her, his eyes steady. "Because fear doesn't solve anything. Panic only makes situations worse. If you act with your mind and your heart, you can handle almost anything." She blinked. No human had ever spoken like this to her before. Most screamed, ran, or tried to fight. Some had even attacked her first, thinking it would save them. But he was different. The passengers watched in awe. They had expected another attack. Another scream. Maybe even death. But now, the alien stood quietly beside the human. She was learning. They were both teaching her something new. The shuttle jolted suddenly. Red lights flashed on the control panel. An asteroid field was ahead, moving faster than the shuttle could safely pass. Passengers gasped, gripping their seats. The aliens, muscles tensed, ready to strike or flee. But the human did not move in fear. "Stay calm," he said, his voice firm but quiet. He reached for the navigation panel. "We can make it through, but we need to move carefully." The alien watched. She had always relied on speed and strength to survive dangerous situations. Now she was seeing a different kind of strength, patience, understanding, strategy. She moved beside him, following his instructions, adjusting the shields and engines. As he guided her, one by one the shuttle navigated through the asteroids. Rocks scraped past the hull, shaking the cabin. The passengers held their breath. The human's calm voice guided everyone through the chaos. The alien acted with precision, her instincts sharpened by his guidance. Together, they moved like a single unit. When the last asteroid passed, the shuttle finally steadied. The passengers sighed in relief, some even clapping quietly. The alien looked at the human, her yellow eyes wide. You survived that?" she said, almost in disbelief. He smiled faintly. "Not alone," he said. "We did it together." For a moment, she considered his words. Together. She had always been alone, relying on her strength and speed. But now, she realized that cooperation, understanding, and trust could be even stronger than teeth and claws. A soft alarm beeped from the shuttle's sensors. The human glanced at it and frowned. "Something else is nearby," he said. "I'm not sure what it is yet, but it's moving fast." The alien's tail flicked nervously. "Is it dangerous?" she asked. "Possibly," he said, "but we will handle it, calmly." He moved to a control panel at the front of the shuttle. The alien followed, her curiosity stronger than her fear. She had never seen a human analyze danger like this. Most humans ran or panicked, not him. He looked at the approaching object, studied its movement, and then pressed a series of buttons. "Hold on," he said to the passengers. "This will be tricky." The alien watched, fascinated. He was using the shuttle itself to redirect the object, adjusting shields and thrusters with precise timing. She realized that humans were clever, capable of thinking faster than instincts, alone. Her teeth, once meant for biting and fear, felt useless against this quiet, calculated power. The approaching object passed close enough to shake the shuttle, but it did not hit. The passengers cheered softly, relieved. The alien's eyes glowed faintly in surprise and respect. You are not like the others," she said quietly. The human nodded. "Humans are not perfect," he said. "We make mistakes, but we also adapt. We survive in ways others don't expect." The alien considered this. She had spent her life believing that strength came from speed and teeth, from fear and aggression, but now she realized there was another kind of strength. One that did not need violence to survive. One that could even calm a predator like herself. The passengers began to talk quietly among themselves. They were still shaken, but they were safe, for now. And the alien remained beside the human, no longer a threat, but a protector. She had learned something new about humans. They were unpredictable, clever, and brave in ways that even she could not understand fully. The human smiled faintly at her. "You see," he said, "even the most dangerous situations can be handled without fear, without anger. You can control yourself, and in doing so, protect others." She blinked slowly, understanding dawning in her sharp eyes. For the first time, she saw humans not as prey or weak beings, but as creatures capable of courage, strategy, and calm in the face of danger. She felt respect for him, and something else, something she had not felt before. The shuttle continued through space, silent except for the hum of the engines. Outside, stars stretched endlessly. Inside, passengers, human and alien alike, were learning from one another. Fear had been replaced with understanding, panic with calm, aggression with respect. And for the human, the journey had just begun. He knew dangers awaited them in the uncharted parts of space. But he also knew that with calm, courage, and trust, even a predator could become an ally. The alien glanced at him one last time before settling down beside her seat. She did not bite. She did not attack. She simply stayed close, ready to act, if needed, and quietly learning the ways of a human who did not flinch. For the passengers, the alien, and the human, a new chapter had begun. A chapter where humans were not simply prey, but problem solvers, allies, and teachers of calm strength. And the stars outside stretched endlessly, waiting for what would come next. The shuttle moved deeper into space, the distant stars streaking past like silver sparks. Inside, the passengers had begun to settle, though the memory of the alien's bites still lingered. The alien herself remained close to the human, her yellow eyes constantly scanning him. She had not attacked again, and she did not plan to, at least, not yet. Instead, she watched, learning from his calm and careful actions. The human walked through the cabin, checking on the passengers. He smiled gently at each one, offering quiet reassurance. "We're not out of danger yet," he said. "Stay alert, but stay calm. Panic helps no one." The alien followed him silently. She had always relied on instinct, speed, strength, aggression to survive. But now, she saw another way to survive: cooperation. And the human was showing her how. Suddenly, the shuttle shook violently. Red lights flashed and alarms blared. The passengers screamed and grabbed onto the nearest supports. The human moved quickly to the control panel, his hands steady despite the chaos. "What is it?" one of the passengers shouted. "Something is approaching," he said. "And it's big." The alien's muscles tensed. She recognized the movement on the sensors instantly. It was not an asteroid or debris. It was a predator ship, much larger than the shuttle, moving fast and with clear intent. Her instincts screamed to attack, but she paused, watching the human. He did not panic. He did not shout. He simply studied the incoming ship. The passengers froze. The alien's growl was low in her throat, warning them of danger. But the human raised a hand, and his calm voice cut through the tension. "Stay calm. We can handle this together." The Predator ship fired a warning beam. Sparks flew across the shuttle's hull, and some panels flickered and sparked. The passengers ducked instinctively. The human turned to the alien. "I need your help," he said firmly. Her tail flicked, but she stepped forward. She had never worked with anyone like this before. Normally, she fought alone, relying on her speed and teeth. Now, she was part of a team, and the team leader was human. Together, they moved to the control panels. The human directed the alien with calm, clear instructions. "Adjust the shields to the upper left. Increase power to the engines gradually. I will guide us through the approach." The alien followed, her sharp claws moving over the controls with precision. She realized that the human's calm had a strange effect on her instincts. Instead of striking out blindly, she was learning to act with thought and timing. The Predator ship fired again, this time sending a wave of energy toward the shuttle. The shields flared, absorbing the impact. The human adjusted the engines, tilting the shuttle to avoid the next strike. The alien moved beside him, her reflexes sharp, her actions precise. Together, they were unstoppable. The passengers watched in awe. They had expected death, but instead, they saw a human and a predator alien working together to survive. The alien had stopped being a threat. She had become a protector. "Keep steady," the human said. "We can pass this if we time it right." The alien's eyes glowed faintly, her tail swishing in concentration. She moved as he directed, anticipating the Predator ship's attacks and countering them. The shuttle dodged, turned, and fired defensive systems that the passengers didn't even know existed. Every movement was calculated, every action precise. Finally, after tense minutes that felt like hours, the Predator ship slowed and moved away. Its warning signals stopped. The shuttle's alarms quieted. The passengers sighed, relief washing over them. The alien turned to the human, her sharp teeth glinting in the soft light. You are different from other humans," she said. Quietly, he smiled faintly. "And you are different from other predators," he replied. "We can be stronger together than alone. That is how we survive." The alien considered this. She had spent her life relying on fear and aggression, but now she realized that trust and cooperation could be even stronger. The human had shown her a new way to survive, without unnecessary violence, without panic, with calm and thought. The passengers, still shaken, began to relax. They whispered among themselves, amazed at what they had witnessed. Humans had always been underestimated, but now they saw the truth. Humans were clever, brave, and capable of inspiring even predators to act differently. The human walked through the cabin again, checking on everyone. "We made it," he said softly. "But we need to remain alert. Space is full of surprises." The alien stayed close, her eyes studying him. She had learned something important. Fear was not the only way to react to danger. Strength could come from calm, understanding, and trust. She had never experienced this before, and she found herself curious about what else humans could do. The shuttle continued through the void, moving steadily toward the next planet. Outside, stars streaked by, endless and silent. Inside, passengers, human and alien alike, were learning from one another. The predator was no longer just a predator. She was a student, learning the ways of a human who did not flinch, who did not panic, who could face danger calmly and lead others through it. For the human, the journey was far from over. He knew that more dangers awaited them. Unknown predators, hostile travelers, and the challenges of uncharted space. But he also knew that with calm, courage, and cooperation, even the most dangerous situations could be overcome. The alien looked at him again, her eyes reflecting both respect and curiosity. "Teach me more," she said quietly. He nodded. "We will face everything together," he said, "and we will survive." The passengers watched silently, witnessing a new kind of strength in the stars. It was not just physical, it was calm, courage, intelligence, and trust. Humans were different, and the alien had learned that difference firsthand. And as the shuttle moved forward, deeper into space, the human and the alien stood side by side, ready for whatever the void would throw at them next. The shuttle moved steadily through the dark expanse of space, but calm would not last for long. The human sat at the control panel, eyes scanning the readings, while the alien stayed close, her yellow eyes alert. She had learned to trust him, but instincts still hummed beneath her skin. Danger was never far in this part of the galaxy. A sudden alarm rang through the shuttle. Red lights flashed across the cabin. On the sensors, a massive vessel appeared, moving fast and directly toward them. Its size was far greater than the Predator ship they had faced before. The passengers gasped, gripping their seats. Panic threatened to rise, but the human's calm voice cut through the tension. "Stay calm," he said firmly. "We can handle this. Trust me." The alien's tail twitched nervously. Her instincts screamed to attack, to strike first, but she paused. She had learned something important. Calm and planning could be stronger than raw aggression. The massive vessel fired, warning beams striking the shuttle with sparks and vibrations. The passengers ducked instinctively. The human's hands moved quickly over the controls, adjusting shields and engines. He did not panic. He did not shout. Every movement was deliberate, precise. The alien moved beside him, following his guidance. She used her strength and reflexes to adjust the shuttle's shields and counter the attacks. The human directed her with calm instructions, and together they acted as one. "Shields to maximum," he said. "Engines at full power. Prepare for evasive maneuvers." The shuttle tilted sharply, dodging a blast from the larger vessel. The alien's claws pressed firmly on the control panels, adjusting the systems as he directed. Sparks flew, but she did not panic. She trusted him, and that trust gave her strength. Passengers watched in awe. A human and a predator alien working together, guiding a small shuttle against a massive hostile ship. They had never seen anything like it. The human reached over to deploy defensive countermeasures. Small drones launched from the shuttle, spinning in the void. They distracted the large vessel's targeting systems, buying precious seconds. The alien assisted, coordinating the drones with rapid, precise adjustments. Together they created a shield of strategy and skill. The large vessel fired again, its energy beams striking closer and closer. Sparks flew across the shuttle's interior. Passengers screamed, but the human remained calm, directing everyone. "Hold steady," he said. "We can pass this. Follow my instructions." The alien tilted her head, impressed by his calm confidence. She had always relied on instinct and raw power, but now she saw another kind of strength. Intelligence, strategy, and the courage to face danger without panic. The shuttle twisted and turned, weaving through the attacks. The human used every tool at his disposal: shields, engines, drones, and careful calculations of timing and speed. The alien acted with speed and precision, her natural strength amplified by his instructions. Finally, the large vessel fired a massive blast directly at them. The shuttle rocked violently. Passengers screamed, bracing for impact. But the human and the alien were ready. With a final, coordinated effort, they adjusted shields, engines, and trajectory. The blast passed harmlessly alongside them, The passengers exhaled in relief. The massive vessel slowed and moved away, leaving them in silence. The shuttle's alarms quieted, and the engines hummed steadily once more. The alien looked at the human, her eyes wide with respect. You are not like the others," she said softly. He smiled faintly. "And you are not like the others either," he replied. "We worked together. That is why we survived." The passengers, still shaken, began to murmur quietly among themselves. They had expected death, but instead, they witnessed a human and a predator alien coordinating perfectly, facing a danger far beyond what anyone thought possible. The alien's tail swished slowly behind her. She had always been a hunter, relying on teeth, claws, and speed. But now she realized that calm, intelligence, and cooperation could be even stronger. She had learned from the human. "Teach me more," she said quietly. Almost a request. The human nodded. "We will face everything together," he said. "And we will survive." The shuttle moved forward through the stars, deeper into uncharted space. The human and the alien had formed a partnership stronger than fear or aggression. Passengers watched in awe, understanding for the first time that humans were clever, brave, and capable of inspiring even the most dangerous creatures to act differently. The alien considered the events. She had bitten 3 passengers without warning, relying on instinct and aggression. But now, she had learned a new way to survive, a way that did not require violence or fear. She had learned that humans could face danger calmly and think through impossible situations. The human checked the shuttle's readings again. "We are not completely safe yet," he said, "but we are stronger now because we face it together." The alien nodded. She had learned to trust him, and that trust had saved them all. She realized that humans were unpredictable, clever, and brave in ways that even predators could respect. The passengers, now calmer, began to move about the shuttle. Some whispered in awe, still shaken but inspired. They had witnessed something extraordinary, a human and an alien predator working together, defeating danger with courage and intelligence. The human walked through the cabin, checking on each passenger. "We survived because we stayed calm," he said softly. "Remember that? Panic only makes things worse." The alien followed him silently, her eyes reflecting both respect and curiosity. She had learned something important. Strength was not only in teeth, claws, or instinct. Strength could come from calm, intelligence, and cooperation. Outside the windows, stars stretched endlessly. Inside, the passengers, human and alien, were learning together. Fear had been replaced by understanding. Panic had been replaced by calm. Aggression had been replaced by respect. The human reached out his hand again. The alien considered it for a moment, then placed her clawed hand gently against his. It was no longer a gesture of challenge or fear. It was a gesture of partnership. The journey continued, deeper into space, and the human and the alien were ready for whatever challenges awaited them. Together, they had shown the passengers and themselves that humans were not weak. Humans were brave, clever, and capable of inspiring even the most dangerous creatures to act differently, and the stars outside stretched endlessly, silent and watching, as the shuttle moved forward through the void. The shuttle moved silently through the black expanse of space, stars glinting like tiny diamonds outside the windows. Inside, the passengers were quiet, still shaken by the last encounter, but filled with awe at what they had witnessed. The alien, predator, who had bitten 3 travelers before, stayed beside the human. Her yellow eyes now held curiosity and respect rather than menace. Suddenly, the shuttle shuddered violently. Alarms blared, red lights flashing across the cabin. The humans' hands flew over the controls, steady and confident. The passengers gripped their seats, bracing for the worst. "What is it?" one whispered, fear creeping back into their voice. "An unknown object," the human replied calmly. "We'll handle it. Stay calm and follow instructions." The alien tensed, but did not move aggressively. She had learned to trust him, and that trust anchored her instincts. Together, they assessed the readings on the control panel. The object was massive, moving fast, and seemed to be targeting their shuttle directly. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," the human said. "Shields at maximum, engines ready. We can survive this if we stay calm and work together." The alien positioned herself beside him, following his instructions precisely. She had once relied only on speed and strength, but now she understood a new kind of power: intelligence, coordination, and calm under pressure. The massive object fired a beam of energy. The shuttle rocked violently. Sparks flew from the hull. The passengers screamed, but the human's calm voice guided them through the chaos. "Hold steady," he said. "We can do this." He adjusted the shields, increased engine power, and guided the shuttle in precise maneuvers. The alien moved with him, using her reflexes to support his actions. Together, they formed a perfect team. The object fired again, and this time the beam struck closer. The shuttle's hull groaned, but it held. The human directed the alien to counter the attack, and with her help, they stabilized the shuttle. Passengers clung to their seats, watching in awe. "You are remarkable," the alien said quietly, her voice filled with wonder. "No human has ever faced me like this, and yet you survive. You lead. You protect others." The human glanced at her with a faint smile. "And you've learned something important too," he said. "Strength is not just teeth and claws. Calm, intelligence, and trust can be even stronger." The alien considered his words. She had bitten 3 passengers without warning, relying solely on instinct. But now she realized that courage and cleverness could overcome any danger. She felt respect for him, and something deeper, an understanding that humans could inspire, even the fiercest predators to change. The massive object fired again. A final attack. The shuttle shook violently, throwing passengers off balance. The human and the alien worked together seamlessly, adjusting shields, thrusters, and trajectory. In perfect coordination, sparks flew across the control panels. The alien's claws moved with precision, following his calm commands. Finally, the beam passed harmlessly alongside them. The object slowed, then retreated into the darkness of space. The alarms ceased, and the shuttle stabilized. The passengers exhaled in relief, their fear replaced by admiration. The alien turned to the human. Her eyes shone with respect and gratitude. You are unlike any human I have known," she said softly. He nodded. "And you are unlike any predator I have faced," he replied. "Together we survived. That is what matters." The passengers began to whisper among themselves, amazed at what they had witnessed. A human and a predator alien had faced an unimaginable threat and survived, working together calmly and intelligently. Humans, they realized, were not weak. They were brave, clever, and capable of inspiring trust even in the most dangerous beings. The alien moved closer to the human. She lowered her head slightly, a gesture of respect rather than threat. For the first time, she had seen humans as equals, not prey, not easy targets, but beings capable of courage, intelligence, and leadership. The human reached out his hand again. This time, there was no hesitation. The alien placed her clawed hand gently against his. It was a gesture of partnership, trust, and understanding. The passengers watched silently, understanding that they had witnessed something extraordinary. Fear had been replaced by respect. Panic had been replaced by calm. Aggression had been replaced by cooperation. The shuttle moved forward, deeper into uncharted space. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. Inside, human and alien predators stood, side by side, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. Together, they had shown that humans were resilient, intelligent, and capable of bringing out the best even in the most dangerous creatures. The human glanced at the alien. "We will face everything together," he said quietly. "And we will survive." The alien nodded. For the first time in her life, she felt something new: trust, respect, and curiosity about the world of humans. She had learned a valuable lesson. Strength was more than teeth, claws, or instinct. It was courage, intelligence, calm, and the willingness to work together. The passengers, inspired and amazed, settled into their seats. They had seen a new kind of hero, human, not because of brute force, but because of calm, intelligence, and bravery. And the alien had learned to see humans differently than ever before. The stars outside stretched endlessly, silent witnesses to a new chapter in space travel, a chapter where humans were more than survivors. They were leaders, teachers, and allies. The human and the alien stood side by side, ready for whatever the void would throw at them next. They had faced danger, chaos, and fear, and emerged stronger. Together, they would continue their journey through the stars, teaching, surviving, and proving that humans were truly extraordinary. The last shuttle of the night had begun a journey that none of the passengers would ever forget. Fear had been defeated, courage had been proven, and trust had formed between species that had never believed in partnership before. The human held out his hand one final time, not as a challenge, not as fear, but as a symbol of strength, unity, and hope. The alien accepted it. Together, they moved forward into the endless star-filled void, ready for the next adventure.